good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, our wonderful listener. This is your favorite show here again, Up Nepa. I know you're super excited and you've been waiting for us. Yeah, we're a little bit sorry that we are behind schedule. This morning is going to be an amazing time. It's going to be a wonderful time. And this morning, this program here, we don't just talk about power. We ask power, we question power. We talk about everything that resonates with the power sector, electricity, the issues that resonate with electricity, and we don't just talk about it just for saying sake. We talk about it to enlighten you, to inform you, to entertain you, and also, to give you all the gist that you need. And welcome this morning. If you're just tuning in for the first time or you're just listening to this program for the first time, you are welcome. This is Up Nepa. And my name is Victoria Festus, and this morning I'm not going to be riding this boat alone. I have Lady KK with me that is going to, roll with me this morning. Good morning, KK.
Good morning, Vicky. Whenever you say Lady KK, I always have to take time to... All right, good morning, our listeners. Good morning, our audience. It's so beautiful to have you all here this morning. If you're joining us for the first time, as Vicky just said, this is Up Nepa, and would like you to join us on our social media handles. You can find us on Facebook at Up Nepa platform and on YouTube at Up Nepa _platform. Please do well to follow us, engage with us, and let's get back to you. You can subscribe and hit the notification button so when anything new comes up, you'll be the first to be notified. And there's something else I also want to should I say greet us for? Vicky did not say anything about that. Tomorrow is Valentine. I like Valentine. I like love. So happy Valentine to all our listeners and our audience.
Yeah. Sorry about it. I totally forgot. Yeah, tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and happy Valentine's to all our listeners and our audience out there listening and viewing us. I wish you the best of it. I wish you the best of Valentine, and also make sure do well to share love, godly love.
Godly love. Emphasis on godly
love. Make sure to share love, godly love with people around you, your family, your loved ones, and please don't get yourself involved with all sort of things, indulge yourself with things that doesn't propel or doesn't show love.
Yeah.
So do well to extend love, and it's me. I don't know, for people that have lovers.
Vicky.
My love is God.
Okay.
So
everybody's love is God. Everybody's love is God.
Tomorrow, I am my God. We're going to be having our own Valentine special. You get?
I was going to ask you, who is your love? Who is your Valentine? But then since you said your love is God, my love too is God now. So I'm also sure your love is God. Our love, everybody's love is God.
I accept cash. I accept God with a touch of Allah. So Vicky for short account is open. Please show some love here. Okay. Talking about love, talking about sacrifice, the period people sacrifice, show love to their loved ones, show commitment and all that. I just want to use this special medium to say a very big congratulations to the managing director of Prestige 91.7 FM radio.
Yes.
Congratulations to your appointment as the board member of the Nigerian Electricity Management Service Agency. Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
We wish that this new appointment will give you all the things your heart desire, all the plans you have. We pray that this milestone will be a wonderful one.
Amen.
Congratulations.
Amen.
And okay, so I just want to we're going to be looking at something crucial this morning, and we're going to be, I know it resonates around everybody, as Nigerians, and we're going to be asking this big question. It's a big question, and unsettling one at that. And the question is Nigeria quietly walking away from the grid? Is Nigeria quietly walking away from the grid? That is the question we're asking now, because Nigeria's electricity grid has recorded collapses from within 1 month, from December 2025 to January 2026.
Yes.
And we have had series of the grid has collapsed, grid collapse and all that, and and it has been a very big concern. Also hearing the fact that most of also hearing the fact that most of the major shift that's happening now is that several companies are being given approval to generate their own electricity, which is a concern. Is it that which way Nigeria? If there's this song I listen to that says which way Nigeria, so which way Nigeria? What are we looking at? Are people quietly leaving the grid, or is this a matter of urgency?
Yes, and I think it is a very important question, because these days you go out and you'll see probably 10 to 20 residential buildings, and in like 8 of them they have their own solar system, they have their own system to generate electricity. And because we wonder what you think as our audience, we know this is something that has been on your mind. We do not want to discuss this alone. We have here with us an important guest. As you know, we always do bring the best of the best to discuss these issues with you. We have here Dr. Sadiq Ahmed. Dr. Sadiq Ahmed has been with us quite a number of times on the show. He's a lecturer in FUT with Electrical Electronics Department. So I can as well call him Engineer Sadiq Ahmed. Am I correct? Yeah, so you're welcome here, sir, this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning,
listeners, and thank you for having me this morning.
Good morning, sir. You're welcome.
Okay, good morning, sir. You're welcome. Whenever we have you here today, you just feel like we have a lot. See, as you can see, I came with my pen and paper.
It's necessary. I think I'm still studying the mathematics we did the last time.
Oh my goodness! So it's going to be power packed conversation. Okay, sir, Nigerian electricity grid has recorded several collapses within 1 month, since December to January 2026, and I want you to tell us from a technical standpoint, from your own view, what is the biggest threat to Nigerians' grid stability today? The repeated collapse, primarily operational failure, or infrastructure failure?
All right, thank you once again, and good morning.
Good morning,
sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you. The question of the grid instability actually stem from a lot of issues in the grid, and some of these issues are systemic issues, and they could also be ascribed to the current wave that is actually happening.
Okay.
Like you gave the statistics, in January 2026 alone we had 3 grid collapses.
Wow. Yes.
There are actually 3 grid collapses, which actually is below the global standard, the reliability global standards of national grid, or grid as they are being operated. Now, the topic we're also discussing today is also apt and very fantastic. And we could link some of the perceived grid collapses to some of these issues, right? But one thing that is systemic is actually the imbalance in the load, the imbalance between generation and the load. Like we once said here that the installed capacity of our generators in the grid is around 13 gigawatt. That's about 13,000 megawatt, right? But the highest that we could will, in other words, the highest that the transmission network can take is around 4,000. In January, we did 4,900. But the highest we have done is around 5,200, 5,300 out of the 13,000 megawatt. However, with this instability, with these failures, again, a lot of things are happening on the grid. A lot of reforms are coming. This year, in January also, the President signs an amended Act of 2023. There was an amendment of 2023, and that has also given a lot of impetus to many state-owned regulators to come up. Right? So, if I'm to answer directly, I will say that yes, the problem of the grid is one, the imbalance between generation and the load. Secondly, we also have obsolete equipment around, equipment that have been decades old, could be 20, 30 years old, and they have not been repaired. And also the fact that we're moving away from a centralized grid. Right, and which is the important topic that we're going to. But you've not asked me that question, so I will just ask.
Well, I think I was going to come up with that. I'm not sure though, but with the major firm generating their own electricity, are we witnessing the gradual decentralization of Nigerian power system? I think that's
so that's actually the question. Yes. Thank you again. Thank you for asking this question specifically. So what we are witnessing in Nigeria is not just a quiet walking away from the national grid, but we are actually sprinting towards a decentralized energy future.
Okay.
And when I say we are sprinting, we're not. It doesn't. I mean that we are not crawling. We are not
running,
but we are running
Yeah.
to a decentralized system. And prominent among those was recently, I think 2-3 days ago, when the permanent secretary of the State House announced that the State House itself, by next month, which is March, will be completely disconnected from the national grid. We're going into solar mini grids.
Wow.
Right? So what we're looking at in the future is going to be what I call the grid of grids. So within the national grid, we're going to have some smaller grids. And that has been necessitated by the 2003 Electricity Act, which has now given states regulators. There has been a transfer of regulatory powers to states. As we speak, this transfer has reached 16 states. Niger State is among them.
Yes.
However, very prominent is the fact that some states have taken it further.
Okay.
Right? Some states have taken it further. States like Abia, for instance, they now have what is called the geometric power. The geometric power means that they now are able to generate, transmit, and also distribute their own power, independent of the national grid.
Wow.
Do you know what that means?
That's the entire state.
Yes.
Okay.
What that means is that added to the imbalance, these people are taking away. They are taking out of what it used to be. They are isolating themselves. So in the power system literature, we call it islands. They are now creating their own islands independent. And they are not just creating it, they can stand on their own independently, and they can also connect to the grid.
If they choose to.
Yes, if they choose to. Okay. And this is actually a global practice. It's not new to Nigeria. This is not the first place it's been practiced, right? So, but the good side of it is the fact that fire outage in Shiroro or a line outage in Shiroro will not shut down a factory in Lagos. That is the good thing about it.
That's true.
Or a line outage in Kainji will not shut down the factory in Abia State, in Abaf in particular. It's actually good that we are actually moving towards that. But I must also commend the fact that the president has been very proactive in signing these enabling laws. Okay. Right? These regulations, these legislations have been there, but immediately it comes to his table, he signs it. Which is actually why I said we are actually sprinting. We're not just quietly walking away. We are sprinting.
Okay, but then this then leads me to the next question. This large-scale self-generation that seems to be taking place across, I think you said about 17 states.
Yeah.
Will it in the long run weaken the national grid financially?
Okay, it will not weaken the national grid. What we are witnessing is actually just decentralization.
Okay.
The national grid will not go away. Right? Okay. The national grid will not go away. Then we will have grids, like I said earlier, we will have grid of grids. We have a national grid that comprises of some sub-grids, or what we call mini grids. And these grids can now operate as an island. Now, financially, it also means that we will have interconnection. We will have what is called tie line, interconnecting a mini grid to the national grid. And that interconnection will mean there will be transfer of power or flow of power through these tie lines. And flow of power actually means financial gains.
Okay. So instead of weakening it, it's enabling it, so to say.
Yes, it's supposed to strengthen it.
Okay.
And with good framework, all we need now, particularly with the needs of Nigerian independent system operators that have taken over the management of the grid from TCN, they also need to come up and improve on their game. Right? I'm also quick to say here that I recently submitted a proposal to National Research Fund, funded by TED Fund, where we want to look at the grid. I won't say much about that, but we are actually working. I think a lot of people are working towards solving this problem in Nigeria. I can just say that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you talked about decentralized. We are moving from having grids and
within the main grid. Yes.
But now, I don't know, but from my own view, how fast is Nigeria rebuilding the grid itself, to avoid people, avoid consumers leaving, the
Yeah,
grid?
so it's actually not to avoid consumers leaving. What we might term as consumers leaving is actually a good omen.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
When you decentralize, before now it's central, right? And trying to solve problem from Abuja, Maiduguri follows a lot of bureaucracies and all of that. For instance, there is an outage, for instance, in Maiduguri, in one substation, in one transformer, and then you needed somebody in TCN in Abuja to raise the funds to do this, so it passed through a lot of processes.
Yeah.
But now, when we now have a decentralized system, it means decisions can be taken faster.
Okay,
right?
that's true.
Decisions can be taken faster. It means that we can fastly rebuild these grids. A lot of investment is required in the obsolete equipment. But for TCN to take that decision, it has to go through a long process. But now, if we now have state regulators who are also trying to say, okay, we can also generate, we can transmit, and we can distribute. That means there is some sort of independency, just like states have independent. Of course, they get their allocations, but then they decide on what to do and how to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Still on that, talking about moving from grid to grid. Not everyone, not all states can afford to exit the grid.
Yeah.
So let's look at it at this perspective. For those that cannot afford to exit the grid, does it mean that Nigeria is building a power system where reliability depends on income? Because if major power consumers leave the grid, who remains?
Yeah, I understand that fear, but like I said earlier, we're actually not leaving the grid, but we are providing alternatives. Consumers are providing alternatives. Now, when you say leaving the grid, it means completely you are not connected to the grid. You are just trying to generate your electricity, like the Aso Villa, right? Like the State House. Now, but what is important for us to note is that when some consumers exit the grid, like we said, it actually provides an avenue for others to actually enjoy the infrastructure. Because as I said earlier, the problem we have is that we have the load, but the generation is very low.
Okay.
Right? The generation is very low. Now, even the 13,000 megawatt of installed capacity that I talk about cannot serve the load. But out of this 13,000, the highest we have done is 5,000. In other words, we can only evacuate this 5,000. So it's actually a good thing that we decentralize. Decentralization actually does not mean that we are exiting the grid. When we decentralize, for instance, the state's regulators will now provide licenses to investors to come and invest. And coming to invest means that, for instance, in Niger State, we have, let's assume we have a solar farm that is now generating, is transmitting, and also distributing. So it means we don't expect power, for instance, if we don't have any of the hydros in Niger, we don't expect power to come from Maybe or Sapele that is gas powered. It means we have something here that can feed us. The good thing again is the fact that if in Niger we're able to get this investment and the generation is more than what Niger can take, it means the investors can now inject into the grid for others. You understand? So it's important that we take this into cognizance, that we're really not really abandoning the grid, but we are decentralizing such that each decentralized or each of the region can stand as an island, operate as an island. They can generate, transmit, and distribute. But again, they are also connected to the grid. Should in case they have excess, they can sell back to the grid. And that is why I said earlier that the NISO, the Nigerian Independent System Operators, need to up their game and give us the framework of this decentralization. It's actually happening fast.
It's happening faster than we even know. Yes. But then I want to ask, from what you just said, I think you touched a little bit on it. Do we have hope as a nation now that since there's a lot of decentralization, that we would have less cases of the grid collapsing?
Yes, there is.
So then it means it is in a way something to even encourage.
Yes, it's actually something to encourage. With that decentralization, it means that we will record less failures.
Okay. Because
as I said earlier, if Kainji, there is actually a single line in Kainji that when it goes off, the entire grid is divided into two, and none of this can stand on its own. We did this study since 2013, right? When Jeba Oshobo actually goes off, the entire grid is divided into two, and none of these regions can stand on its own, right? So if we decentralize, decentralization actually brings about a lot of investment. It unlocks the investment potentials in the sector, and that means that we have more money in the sector to repair some of this equipment, to build some of this infrastructure. And what that means is that we will not be relying on the operation of the entire grid. For instance, when the national grid collapses in January, Abia was still standing.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Go and check. Abia was still standing because they can now operate as an island. So the national grid does not affect Abia's operation, the factories there, the industries there. So it's actually a good moment, and that we should encourage it. And that is why, as I said earlier, the president has been very proactive in signing these laws. Since he came in 2023, he has amended this law 3 times. That's on an average once per year.
Wow.
Like, as we are going into the sector and we're seeing what is happening, there's a need to come back and do some amendment, and that is what he has been doing. Yeah.
Okay. So talking about this independent power, I want to ask: do you foresee, now that most states are on their own now, do you foresee electricity being expensive?
Yeah. So the recent amendment of the Electoral Act. Sorry, I don't mean to say Electoral. The Electricity Act.
Electricity Act.
The recent amendment of Electricity Act touch about that a lot of people have been silent about. It actually transfers the legacy liabilities to the states. What does that mean? Of course, there has been subsidy in the sector. Me and you, we still enjoying that subsidy because we are not in band A. But the federal government is tactically also saying that we can no longer bear the brunt of the subsidy alone. If you are independent and as a state you want to subsidize electricity for your citizens or for your indigents, then you should bear the cost. So in some states we will see maintain that subsidy regime, but in some states that have growth potential, that have growth mindset, we will see increment in tariffs.
So everybody should get ready.
Yes, because some states, particularly in the east, have these business potentials, and they have to grow.
Yes.
You understand? And there are people that are ready to pay as long as you will assure them of the reliability 247.
Yes, you know.
So, yeah.
What you just said now brings me to a question that's been on my mind. You talked about, like in Abia, for instance, the last grid did not affect them, and I think Aba, the huge area market is in Abia, right?
Yes,
yes. So it means that through the grid collapse and all of that, area was standing. I've been there once, so I know what happens there. So, but then
beneficiaries of this too.
Yes, but then we are for other states. Let me not say for other states that have not carried out this decentralization process, or have not made have not decided to stand on their own.
Yeah.
The grid collapsing severally, what does it mean for small businesses? I think you touched on it a bit.
Yeah. So for small businesses, absolutely it means loss of revenue. It means downtime. It means loss of man-hour, right? For small businesses,
That's
for
true.
SMEs. It's actually not good. We are actually operating one of the largest economy in Africa.
Yes.
Right? Nigeria, we are operating one of the largest economy in Africa. With the power of, I won't say some companies in the West. with the power consumption of some companies in the West. Let me give us an example, and I mentioned one time in my class, and my students were shouting. Right? We are operating the largest economy in Africa with power supply twice less than the power supply of the masjid in Mecca.
Wow.
The masjid in Mecca takes more than 10,000 megawatts. But we are
doing
less than
4,900.
5,000. We are operating the largest economy in Africa with less than 5,000 megawatts. If you look at what Google is using, and of course they are also building data centers around, right?
Yes.
How much is Google? Just a few companies together. It's more than what we're using to operate the largest economy in Africa. So it means something is fundamentally wrong, and that's why I actually like the pace of the movement, the walking away. As I said, for me, we are sprinting, and it's actually I like the way it's happening. It's like for us, it's good women. We are actually happy that we're seeing these changes happening year in, year out.
Okay, but with this now, are there, because there are investors coming in, just as you said.
Yeah.
And then they will not only be coming into the states that have been decentralized, they'll be coming, I believe, to every other state, believing that people are, as you said, believing that the nation is sprinting towards this.
Yeah.
But then, we cannot guarantee that these collapses would not happen again. So are there any early warning signs that operators can use to detect before a national outage occurs?
Yes. Already these technologies are there. For instance, there's what we call SCADA, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition Systems. The SCADA systems actually allows you to measure at different points on the grid what is happening. Right? What is happening on the grid. So you know at what points you are expecting failures and all of that. But apart from that, you can also do studies to expect cascading failures. And sorry to say this, I was in the US for the past 5 months, and I did a study on the US network to tell them, okay, we can do contingency analysis within the US network to avoid, for instance, the 2003 blackout. And these studies are possible. The only thing is we just need to believe on ourselves.
Exactly.
Right? We need to believe on ourselves. And I actually did about 3 presentations. I did the first one. They say, okay, you have to go to so with a larger group to do another one. And then we are already working on and it's actually very unfortunate to say this, that since 2016, I've been working on the US national grid. And between 2011 to 2013, I worked on the Nigerian grid, but nobody cares to know about that. And very importantly, when I did a study in 2013 about the Nigerian grid, it was 2011, 2012, it was when we realized that the maximum that the grid can take is around 5,000. And after 2013, when we published that work, in 2015, it came out, it became a national issue that we can only wheel 5,000. The study has been there since 2012, but nobody cares to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this discussion is very, very interesting, because if I shall allow, let's open the phone lines, because if I shall allow Dr. 1 hour, we are not out of here. Okay, this is still up Nepa, and if you want to reach us out to make a contribution here in the studio, the number to call is 09038808883, 09038808883, or you can drop a comment on our social media platform on Facebook at UpNepa platform and on YouTube at UpNepa_platform. Send your contributions. Let's hear from you. Are you, as a consumer, quietly walking away from the grid, or are you preparing for an alternative? Is there any alternative for you? I think we have a caller ready. Okay. All right, let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Good
morning.
What a marvelous voice. Good morning.
My name is Ambassador.
The challenger.
Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you. If you take a look at it,
Please, Ambassador, we can't hear you. Can you be audible a
me,
bit?
I'm hearing you loud and clear. I'm hearing you people loud and clear.
Yeah, we can't hear you from here. Can you please be audible?
That's the reason why I'm telling you. I'm hearing you.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Close my radio, so I'm hearing you people.
Go ahead, please.
So you see, this question you ask, if you take a look at the map, you understand that lighting of this light. And if lighting of this light, they don't have any other alternative. If they say they want to go on solar, where is the money to go and buy solar? It's expensive. If they say they want to go on generator, where is the money to buy generator and fuel to be fueling it all the time? So if you take a look at it properly, presently down in Nigeria, more than half of Nigerians are living in extreme poverty. So definitely, some of us are relying on AEDC. And seriously, if you take a look at it, it's high time they upgrade the national grid. I don't think you're understanding me. It keeps on collapsing. I think there should be a better alternative for this. There should be what we call constant service and maintenance. And there should be changing some parts and some engines here that are generating this electricity. Because if you go to the powerhouse, some of our powerhouse, the engines are long overdue. I don't think you understand.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if there is going to be constant service and maintenance and changes of parts of these machines that are generating this power, it's going to be a little bit much better. As far as I'm concerned, to me, it is a national disgrace. All because this power grid keeps on collapsing. And you know what is getting this? These second countries that we are supplying light, they are enjoying constant electricity supply, and they are owing us billions of naira. The last time they gave the update, you are aware. So why is it that we here in Nigeria that we have 4 hydro dams if not taken? Why are we not enjoying constant electricity supply? So let's tell each other the truth. And you know what? Both the federal and the state government should run what we call a collaboration. We should go on nuclear power. And take your understanding this. To me, I think it's the best. Other countries are running it. Like Ukraine and other countries. They are running it. So nuclear power. I don't think you understand it. Instead of relying on this dam, that all the time they'll be using this as far as I'm concerned. How many times did the place collapse this year? Okay, look at it. Let me give you a close example. Yesterday, throughout, we are not having light. Today, we are not still having light. I want to ask you a question. If the whole world is practicing 2 things, and for now, AEDC is being not practicing that. I call it creation of awareness and orientation. And you see, customers are always right.
Yes.
We are not having light. Of awareness and orientation.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank
So
you.
I want to hold my talk short. In Nigeria, which is better in country and country Nigeria, and the best where there's no constant electricity supply.
Okay, Ambassador. Thank you so much. Thank you. Whoa. Okay. Ambassador is
It's
if
pained.
oh my god, you will hear from like he's coming from the consumer point of view how what he's saying is actually right. Because doctor, I want to ask if according to what he said, many people as consumers we are also relying on this grid. If the big companies, the institution and the governments walk away from this grid, don't you think that the poor or the common man will be left on his faith?
Yeah, so I know there is that notion also, but let me say this, that the national grid is actually not disappearing.
Okay.
But what we are witnessing is a shift away from the centralized system, from the monopoly, from the vertical integration, to where we now have what is called the horizontal integration, where people, different operators, different stakeholders now have the same equal rights. And what that means is that a bushfire in burning KB cannot cause a blackout in Mina. Is that not what we all want? That a problem in burning KB should not cause a blackout in Mina. That's all what we want. And so it is when we decentralize that we can achieve that. It is decentralization. We are not actually discarding the entire grid, because presently what we have is actually a monopoly. It's one system being operated. But we now want to have subsystems within this system that can stand on their own.
But then, from what he asked, I want to know, as a nation now, is there a possibility for the national grid to be upgraded? You talked about it not being able to generate beyond just 5,000 megawatts.
Yes.
Is there a possibility? Because I'm trying to understand how, as a full country, we're using 2 times less than the masjid in Mecca. So is there a possibility for an upgrade as a nation?
Yes.
Sorry, and to add to that, I don't know, are we seeing a realistic, stable grid after this?
Yes. First, there is a possibility. In fact, this is actually what we're working towards, to improve on the grid, right? The grid infrastructure particularly. And there are a lot of transmission expansion planning. When we say that the installed capacity is around 13,000, but we can only evacuate out 5,000, it is because of the deficit in the transmission expansion or the transmission infrastructure. And then the World Bank has started a lot of work on the expansion to expand the grid. However, even with the expansion of the grid, the load is not static. The load is also increasing. And we are now at the point where we feel that decentralization is actually the solution. Yes, you have improved on the grid, but what we need is tie lines, interconnecting points where we can stand, a region can stand on its own, but still connect to the grid and provide access. Right? And yes, the improvement is actually happening, but it's gradual. But with this move now, I believe it will improve on that. And then we're looking towards that stability. Right? We're looking towards that stability. What it means is, let's assume Niger, of course, we now have the state regulators, right? And we will reach a point where Niger State will have absolute control over the 4 generating stations, the 4 generating companies in Niger State. And again, we also move towards where Niger can ask these people to generate, they also transmit and distribute. So it means that if we have these 4, we may not be able to take all the power from these 4 as a state, except we have new industries coming up. It means in Niger we will have stable electricity and even export, even sell out. So we are moving towards, yes, stable subgrids, which will now encompass a more stable national grid.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
This is the one that I'm calling from Mexico.
Okay, you're welcome, Mr. Manuel.
This is the one that I'm calling from Mexico.
Welcome, Mr. Manuel.
Yeah, what I want to ask is, doctor, with all these things you're saying, what is the essence of building the dam? The huge amount of money government invested here. Look at what is the good of the water, what is people look at the I don't have life. And the one thing that this Niger State is that they are invested for, and that's I think that this is a video of when they made that they kind of to the land, the Niger State, something like that. Why is it getting poor? And why is there no improvement? Every time the national people, after using this, they still have this problem of life. Why? Because I want you to explain more on that.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Manuel. Doctor, I don't know if you can.
Yeah, so he's talking about why build Zungeru, right? Yeah, so apart from the fact that we have issues in the transmission network, we also have deficit of generation. I mentioned some minutes ago that the load, of course, we don't know what it is, but the load is greater than what our installed capacity is. So before now, a lot of people thought it was actually deficit in generation. And then independent power plants were coming up, and then the government was thinking of Zungeru, what's this one in Adamawa, I've forgotten the name, Mambila in Adama, about 3,000 megawatt and all of that coming up. But what that means again is that we are all looking at not just generation, but the problem of transmission. You have this generation, but you need to what? Evacuate it out. It is the problem of evacuation that is causing the grid instability. Because if you want to take more than 5,000, for instance 6,000, there will be issues. That's one. Apart from that, when you have slightest problem somewhere, it causes a lot of instability.
Sure.
And that's where they are now looking at decentralization. Yes, if you ask the generating companies, they are not happy with what is happening because they are actually operating below capacity. And operating below capacity means loss of revenue. They always want to operate at full capacity, right? And what is happening currently, the operating procedure is NCC, that's National Control Center, will call Zugiri, for instance. We just want you to on 2 of your units, just inject 2 of your units, 150, 300 megawatt, right? Okay, it been shut down. Shiroro bring in 2 units. You understand? And they are not happy with that. But when we decentralize and the market is there, we expect to see more industries come up.
Okay.
And this industry will require power. And what it also means is we're opening up the market to allow direct purchase and direct sale. Industry don't need to come into this main grid. They can just have line directly from these guys. And then they are major consumers.
Okay, still on the show, this is Up Nepa, and we are looking at, is Nigeria quietly, moving away from the national grid? I think we have, let's take this last call because our time is running up. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Nepa. Up Nepa show.
Good morning.
Good morning, this is a video on the line.
Welcome.
And Up Nepa, believe me, there are exactly speaking and people are crying about no life and one of them, all of them, they write it and Nepa show against this program in the English version. They should put on whatever language that you are going to speak, either Hausa or English, and that only this particular time we should put and deviate your view. I need that view.
No problem. Thank you so much. Okay, but we used to bring spices up now. Bring the pigeon part as well. Okay.
Yes, I think it's important to note that we are not ADC. We are not working with ADC. We are Up Nepa. We advocate for you. We advocate for everyone. So we'll try as much as is in our power to do what we need to do. But I want us to understand that this is not ADC. This is not ADC.
Yeah, I heard most of them will call in and say ADC. Good morning, ADC.
Yes,
so
this is not ADC. This is Up Nepa.
Okay, our time is far spent, and it's been a wonderful time with Dr. Sadiq for your wonderful, educative, informative contribution in your expertise. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us. And to our listeners, sorry, our callers, we may not be taking another call because we are out of time.
Time is fast
spent. For those our viewers and our listeners, thank you for your calls. Thank you for your contributions. Those that are viewing us on our social media, we want to appreciate. Thank you for staying with us. I just want to say something. But before I do that, let's just give Dr. Sadiq 1 minute to just, round off. What would you say to, if you had to say, what message would you directly tell the policymakers and also to the consumers?
Okay, so the policymakers, policymakers, I think we are in the right direction. I believe strongly that we are in the right direction. However, there is need for a lot of sensitization and some sort of accountability to the public. Now, to our consumers, it's important to note that the national grid is not just disappearing.
Okay.
But we are actually moving away from that monopoly, from that central system. We are actually moving from a single point of failure where a bushfire, for instance in Birnin Kebbi, is no longer causing a blackout in Lagos State. And we are moving to a distributed power system model where Nigeria will now be decentralized because we will no longer have one person run the system. And what this entails is resilience. It means we will now have a more resilient grid. It will open up growth, economic growth, where we see a lot of industry that have shut down because of power coming back. That means a lot of job creation.
True.
Right?
True.
It also means that we now have more innovation around the power sector, because a lot of things are happening that you will want to ascribe to the failure, right? And you also provide this accountability where we no longer have to blame the federal government of lack of power. But we will now be talking to states, and you will now see that responsible state government will now have to measure up and do the needful, because we have now decentralized the system. So nobody should blame the federal government, but hold your state responsible. They now have the power to generate, to transmit, and to distribute. It's a whole lot of powers that have been given to the state, and it means a lot of potential, financial or economic potential to the states. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for coming today. So I would just like to tell our listeners, despite the challenges and reforms, infrastructure improvement could significantly strengthen resilience, but without execution, plans remain paper promises. And I would also like to say to those in power, we wouldn't want this to remain on paper alone. We want these plans to be executed, because speaking for the layman now, speaking for the average Nigerian, we want to enjoy sustainable electricity.
Okay, thank you, Korode. It's the reality is very simple. Electricity is not just a utility; it is an economic oxygen. So there is no nation that industrializes in darkness, and we are praying that this new reform or this new policy would, be for all of us, for our benefit as well. So thank you so much. This is Up Nepa, and I know that you have been enjoying the show. Join us again, same time, Friday next week by 8 a.m. at Prestige 91.7. And we want to be rounding up and drawing the curtain now, because our time is up. So from all of us at Up Nepa, we want to wish you a wonderful weekend. My name is Victoria, and with me have been Korodi and our wonderful guest, Dr. Sadi. Until we meet next time, same time next week, do have a wonderful week. Up Nepa,
let there be light.